All right, everybody. Welcome to Data for Good, Saskatchewan. I'm Ryan. Got a Scott, Ross, other leads of Data for Good Saskatchewan here. And joining us today, we have Melanie Morrison. So I'm just going to go through a couple of things first, and then we'll get kickstarted here. We'll talk about a little bit more about Melanie and let you know more about what we've got in store today. Okay. So, and I'll have to, Ross, can you also make Melanie a co-host just to, so she can share her screen? I assume you have some slides, Melanie? Right
Yes,
on,
I
right
do.
on. Okay. So just real briefly, don't want to steal any of Melanie's thunder here, but we are Data for Good Saskatchewan. If you're new here and you don't know what we do, we are a group of data and AI enthusiasts. We focus on building a data and AI community while also helping groups in the community, nonprofits, mission-driven organizations. We do data projects for them. We produce real impact in the community. You can find us at saskatchewan.dataforgood.ca if you need more information. But I know a lot of our members know what we're doing. We're making a little bit more of an impact in the province, and a lot of folks have heard of us. That's not always been the case. So we really appreciate you folks coming out. Just to highlight a little bit more about what we do run a number of projects. Some groups we've worked with in the past include Sexual Assault Services Saskatchewan, the Regina Public Library, Saskatchewan Rugby, notably the Regina Food Bank, where we produce some really awesome visuals for them, helping them find a location for their food bank, their new food bank location in the city here, as well as we ran the Data Accelerator program, helping 5 different nonprofits out with data challenges. So our leadership team, you can find the faces here. And if you want to know who we are a little bit more, you've got some, you can find us at saskatchewan.dataforgood.ca. But really excited to be part of the organization, and yeah, really excited to be bringing you this kind of content. So just to get started here, I won't go on for too much longer here, although stick around after Melanie is finished because we do have a few things to advertise to you folks. We got a few projects in the pipeline. But just to highlight our guest speaker today, Dr. Melanie Morrison has an MSc and a PhD in experimental psychology, social neuroscience, and an extensive background working with big data, advanced quantitative analysis, and behavioral economics. Melanie has experience managing pan-Canadian teams, co-leading multi-million-dollar research projects, and supervising many PhD, master's, and honor students in psychology at the University of Saskatchewan. Melanie has formed a bridge between academia and industry, and as a founder of BetterCart Analytics, an AI-driven technology company, has built the largest independent food and beverage pricing database in Canada using machine learning and AI. And Melanie, our membership loves databases, so you're warming our hearts already. Melanie and her team have been recognized for their award-winning innovations across Canada. Specifically, Melanie received WESC's 2023 Innovation Award from Innovation Saskatchewan, won the Canadian Food Innovation Network's Food Tech Next program, the International AI Impact and Sustainability Pitch Challenge from the Women in Cloud, the recent Western Canadian Agri-Food Summit Startup TNT, and has received investments as well from BDC's Thrive Lab, a social impact fund. So Melanie, you've got some impressive accomplishments, and yeah, we're really excited to hear about how we can power our competitive advantage with analytics.
Great. That was an incredible intro. Thank you so, so much. I just was at another talk with somebody that was in academia and just saying that, the reason it's long is just because we're so old. Anyway. But yeah, it's been working on this for a while now. But what I can do is happily share my screen with you, and I'll kick my presentation off then.
I wasn't able to make you a co-host, Ryan.
Oh, I made her a co-host. I got that,
Okay.
Ross.
Okay, perfect. Yeah.
Ninja did it.
Great. Yeah. Should just be easy for me now. Here we go. And I'll just wait for that to drop down, and then we'll go right here. Okay, can everybody see that? Can you see that?
Yep, you can see it.
Okay, perfect. Just let me know if you can't. But as Ryan so graciously introduced me, thank you so much. And Ross for the invitation to join the Data for Good community. And be speaking about what we're doing on the technology side of using data for great purposes and to achieve major goals and change in Saskatchewan. So, you know, the Data for Good mandate is, as they say, we put data to work to help positively influence social change across Saskatchewan. And it's a mandate that I, you know, believe in, I fully support, and I would love to be a part of, and using our data that we've accumulated for that good, that social change, and that social impact. So I'm very pleased to be here today speaking with the Data for Good community. If you're new, welcome, and it's a great thing. Well, you know, there's many events that you'll hear more about, obviously, but let's get started. My name's Melanie Morrison, and I'm the founder and CEO of a company called BetterCart Analytics. My contact information is just at the bottom there, Melanie at bettercartanalytics.com, or bettercartanalytics.com is our website. You can also contact me through there as well. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the bigger picture of BetterCart Analytics, but we are also going to start with a little bit of the genesis. And before we get too involved, though, I just want to leave you or let you know that we are a data analytics company. We focus in on pricing intelligence, and our beachhead market is really around grocery pricing and food and beverage pricing in particular. And we're working toward a more resilient food supply chain for everybody in this country, and ultimately greater food security for all. So how did I get started? So oftentimes people will wonder, you know, your background is in psychology. I'm a social psychologist and concerned about, you know, social justice on that front. I've spent my time looking at stereotypes, prejudice, and discrimination, the explicit and implicit forms, those that are very overt or covert, and all of those things that we've all been subject to, you know, very concerned about that and how those deeply affect everybody, and particularly marginalized individuals, marginalized groups and communities. So taking that experience and doing research and working with data and publishing a lot and working really hard in academia, people do wonder why I got started with BetterCart. And it came down to a handful of concerns. So one was you know, being a student for a very long time in the lead up to becoming a professor at the University of Saskatchewan, you know, I was one of those students that didn't have a car. In the occasional time, I would be driven from store to store or something along those lines with a friend of mine, to a drugstore, for instance, and I would be buying products, and I would just marvel at how different the prices could be from one retailer to the next. And simply, we're talking about a block or 2 blocks or 3 blocks of distance between the 2 retailers. So that certainly was something that I tucked away, and I was wondering about it always, you know, and I wasn't necessarily on the technology side at all of anything when I was having these broader based curiosities. So I became more and more concerned about the lack of pricing, transparency around pricing and pricing data. So, you know, when we're going to buy things, we really didn't know when we started this company, you know, at the time, people were really in the dark. People didn't know how to go and access any data. There wasn't a lot of available data sources out there. And so we thought, okay, this is concerning because people are not able to shop as well as they could. And if they only had data, they would be saving a lot more money. I also was concerned about this because of my own personal circumstances. So this is the reality behind why many people start companies. You know, it's personal or lived experience of some kind. And, you know, given my personal experiences, I had become a single mother of 3 small children. So I had 3 children, 2 and under at the time. And, you know, I was looking at pricing. yes, I was a professor, but you know, having a single income, you certainly want your dollars to go as far as you can. And I thought, there's a system that's trying to beat us here, you know, and let's see what we can do in this vein. So I certainly harnessed that lived experience and put it toward, you know, building this data for good. I also had sort of had enough of it, and I decided through my experience as a graduate student, through my experiences as a parent, through my experiences of understanding, you know, discrimination and prejudice and stereotyping, I came to the conclusion that, you know, this is enough and that we need to start taking some action here. And no, I didn't get out a poster, and no, I didn't get a protest going or anything like that. But I thought, okay, we're going to start building with some great data. So let's start creating this transparency if we can. And notably, you know, the vision for the company was so big because really, when you think about it through the consumer's eyes, there's a lack of data in so many respects. But the vision here was very big, that we wanted to start with the most critical necessity of life, that being food, and then building out from there. And if anybody's interested in where we are now, I can certainly, in some of the other industry segments that we're in, I can certainly talk to you about that at the end. So very exciting introduction to BetterCart. And we built a first web app that had all grocery pricing from coast to coast to coast, and designed to save consumers money and help them shop smarter. So when we look at this, I mean, why is this important, you know, and why do we want to start building a massive database that could assist not only consumers, but also, you know, every Canadian in this country, as well as some of the other players in the food supply chain that fight against large multinationals to get a little bit of a toehold in the food production realm and the food manufacturing realm. So we'll talk a little bit about the shift from the consumer-facing side of BetterCart to the business-to-business side, or B2B side, that became BetterCart Analytics. So just to situate us, though, right now at this point, let's take a look at the agri-food industry in full. So many of us do not know that 70% of the food consumed in Canada is grown and processed here in Canada. And there's a desire to increase that percentage. Most don't know about that, and most might be quite shocked to hear that. Of course, those that work in the food industry in not only Saskatchewan, but the prairies and other parts of the country understand that we have great potential here to be growing all of our own food and to be feeding every single person in the country and beyond. So we've got a lot of opportunity here, and we're absolutely well positioned and placed, but we can still grow. The food and beverage processing sector happens to be the largest manufacturing segment in Canada. So you may not have known that. You might have thought it was automobiles. You might have thought it was any other type of you know, manufacturing form, if you will, but it is food and beverage. This constitutes about 17.5% of the manufacturing gross domestic product in Canada. So it's a major contributor, and it contributes about 18% of the employment in Canada writ large. In this massive manufacturing segment are these small and medium-sized food companies, and they make up the majority of Canada's $34 billion manufacturing sector. So when we really look at it, yes, we're deeply concerned about consumers. We're also concerned about, or should be concerned about, these micro, small, and medium-sized food companies that are trying to compete against larger monopolistic corporations and those that are multinational. Why should we be concerned about this? Because of these economic facts. around food security and food insecurity, particularly. So 49% right now of people surveyed living in Canada are concerned about the cost of everyday items. So food prices being one of them. Food affordability is at an all-time low. And what this means is that there's 18.4% of individuals across the 10 provinces that are food insecure. This equates to 6.9 million people within the population of Canada in the provinces. 1.8 million children will be food insecure, which means there are varying levels of food insecurity. But we know that this is a grave concern for children being one of the most vulnerable, if not the most vulnerable sector of the population in Canada. And there's an unprecedented number of food insecure individuals in the territories, and that skyrockets up to about 57% of the population in the territories in Canada. Moving on, there has been a 22% increase in grocery prices from February 2021 to 2024. These higher grocery prices, you may be wondering, are these going to come down? Is this going to settle out at all for us? Stabilize at a lower price point? The thinking is that these higher prices will probably remain intact, and consumers are likely to witness very limited relief from these higher prices. You may hear rumblings around this, and comments being made by very, very large retailers that we're working on it. We're looking at decreasing the cost of food, but what you'll find are alternatives to that. So, houses with no name products in them, and so different diversions, if you will, from the actual lowering of grocery costs. So there's additional factors too that are expected to keep food costs high unless they are addressed. And these are the following. So there are labor shortages in the sector. There's 50,000 employees that we're falling short of in the Canadian Agricultural, Human Resource Council. 25% of workforce shortages for Canadian from the Canadian Federation of Agriculture and Food and Beverage Canada. And this also will be exacerbated with the number of retirements that are going to take place that are estimated to kick off in 2023 and beyond. So about, close to 67,000 retirements in this manufacturing sector, which is the largest in the country. So there's going to be a great need to train people in this area, working with not only, the production and processing of food, but also with the data that hopefully will be coming forward. There's supply chain challenges. The cost of food ingredients has increased, expansive geography, and a lack of competition. And this is a great concern for all of these companies that are trying to establish themselves. So how can we better serve Canadians and our communities? It's, predominantly through innovation, the harnessing of technology, development of technology, and the proper, acquisition, accumulation, production, and of data that we are going to advance this area. And it's going to take, at the bottom of my screen, it says investment. Okay, we'd love it to switch slides right now. There we go. So some of the work that has been done by some of the leads at Data for Good in Saskatchewan have very aptly pointed and harnessed the concerns that we have here and some of the needs that we have around data. So I look to the seminal reports that are coming out from Data for Good leadership. And number one is improve the data on cost of living and food security. So right now we have a consumer price index here, and this is updated monthly at the provincial level. But The problem is that it's based on older expenditures, okay? So it's not keeping time with the current price points for food products. So not only does this mislead consumers, but it also misleads the companies that are trying to create diversity in the food supply chain. There's market basket measures, or MBMs, which is recognized as Canada's official measure of poverty. So this is critically important for us to be producing constantly. And it's more locally oriented. So this can help. We could drill into, various cities, provinces, and so on, but it's updated annually and it's updated 2 years after the fact. So again, there's a gap in what we know about how much consumers are actually paying, and how this, the effects that this has on people's salaries, people's, hourly wages, their pay, their benefits, their pensions, the affordability, the support for children, support for families, support for single individuals, youth, seniors, and those with disabilities. So we look to be able, with our data anyway, we look to be able to contribute to this, and we can certainly start some work for Saskatchewan and more provinces with BetterCart Analytics data. Number 2 is to adopt technology, invest in innovation. So just in general, these are the areas that have been targeted for innovation in the food and beverage manufacturing area. So if you're in this zone or interested in it or new to the area and thinking around development, technology, innovation, it's around product development, so advancing novel ingredients. So in Saskatchewan here, this is a heart belt of food production and use of ingredients. And of course, we have so much to harness here and pop into value add into products and development there. Food processing technology, so we can increase speed and accuracy around the processing time, supply chain management, fulfillment centers and workers. So figuring that out a wee bit. Are there micro fulfillment centers that we need to think about, and how we save costs by having micro fulfillment centers, for instance. Food waste reduction, there's upcycling that can always be done here. And we hope to contribute to this as well with BetterCart Analytics in terms of helping companies price their products effectively and strategically so that there is less food waste on retail shelves. AI and robotics, increased learning, training, production insights, and data acquisition. So automation and data-driven decision-making. And this is really where we're coming in here. The data acquisition component, food waste reduction component, and supply chain management. There's an enhanced need, though, for good data. Not just data, good data, right? And everybody on this call is thinking along those lines and has a good initial or very deep, strong sense of what data can be and what it can do. And data, having good data is critical. So we'll just move now into BetterCart Analytics and how we're positioning ourselves, how we've gone from that web app and the critical needs around manufacturing, around the need for data, the concern around food insecurity for Canadians, and vulnerable populations in there, and how we'll just say that, when we started looking at our work on the consumer side, we did make a move. We pivoted, which can be quite common in business, but 2 years ago, we pivoted to a business-to-business perspective. And we started out by extending our market research and looking at, okay, well, we know consumers have this problem around accessing food pricing data. Do smaller and medium-sized companies have the same problem? Is this an issue for businesses, or do they have these problems solved? And so our research showed us that, my goodness sakes, they're flying, many companies are flying blindly. So they will not have a pricing strategy in place. They don't know what products are selling very well, why they may be, and how that connects to pricing. So we decided to take the plunge and jump into the B2B side. And what we know is the following, and we'll take you through this journey. There are many stakeholders in the food supply chain. So we can learn a little bit about that in today's talk as well. So ensuring that these diverse stakeholder groups are protected and positioned to thrive is critical. It creates a more diverse food supply chain, and with greater competition, we will have ultimately a reduction in food costs. This ranges anywhere. These stakeholder groups are primary producers, are growers, are makers, are ranchers, are farmers, okay? Food and beverage processors are those that are taking those ingredients and making the initial food products. And then food and beverage manufacturers, those that are doing this at scale. Wholesalers get involved, distribution, distributors, and they're making plays into the retail landscape on behalf of these manufacturers and processors and producers. They're putting, inquiring about how to get these products for the best price into the retail zone. Here we have our smaller independents on up to groups that may have 300 to 500 stores, and they're still classified as independents in this country. Independents are the fastest growing segment in the grocery industry in Canada and the United States. And they compete directly with large retailers, right? Large retailers, you can think of the big five in this country, and they have a stronghold on the market. They also have considerable buying power. And so independence requires some help, and they require a competitive advantage, if you will. And then finally, on to consumers. So where we're positioned predominantly is in here with the processors, manufacturers, and independent retailers. At BetterCart Analytics, then, we're reducing inequalities among under-resourced or underserved food supply chain stakeholders by democratizing their access to data and intelligence, helping to create a more resilient food supply chain and greater food security. So if we're talking to manufacturers or groups that support the production of food by new companies coming into Canada, they're growing their food, they're processing this food, or they've started a farmer's market and now they want to expand and they want to get into retail. What we've learned through our discovery is that one of the hardest things to do is price products. So this is coming from Food and Beverage Atlantic. We know it's the one thing we can't help our companies with, and this would be Venture Park Labs. This is a huge food processing and manufacturing accelerator or incubator for companies that are coming out. Many of the products you might enjoy in grocery stores are coming out of Venture Park Labs. And then we also have the feed incubator and accelerator here in Saskatchewan, which is really becoming renowned in Canada. And one of the key areas that they want to support their companies in is in food pricing. Here's a really successful CEO, co-CEO of Bloom, or she's the CEO rather, of Bloom. And this is a natural product that is found in on retail shelves. And just reflecting on her journey, getting into a new market and just saying we made a lot of mistakes, when we launched 6 years ago. Wrong part of store, wrong SKUs, from price point to programming. We had a lot to figure out. Eventually, we fell off shelf. And that's really what we're here doing at BetterCart Analytics, is trying to support these companies as they move to the shelves, in preparation to move to the shelves, and hopefully through their growing pains, and so that they can remain on the shelves. So without price analytics and intelligence, processors and manufacturers misprice products all the time and lose customers' revenue. There are traditional inefficient methods of data acquisition here in this area. Some people might actually shop at their competitor stores and take a paper receipt with them, and then size up how much their competitors' products are going for at a various retailer. They may take screenshots of products when they're out in the city. This could be downtown Toronto. You might ask them, well, how often do you do this? Like, is it every day? Do you have a staff person on this 3 times a day looking at your competition? No, we do this every 6 months. Then that screenshot circulates through sales and marketing teams. And these teams are really at a loss because they're not keeping time with the market and the dynamic nature of grocery pricing. They may check pricing online, one product at a time, and that is a woeful, painful, tedious process. So what is at stake? There's operational efficiencies, margin points, hundreds of thousands of dollars per store, and millions in revenue per year. The groups that we're really critically attached to are your independent grocery retailers, the smaller players, and the food and beverage manufacturers. So we want to help them get in and compete when they're on retail shelves. So they've been subject to traditional data capture, those methods that I just mentioned. This creates serious limitations and keeps them data starved. So here we are. We're coming in hot, BetterCart Analytics, and we use data analytics and AI-driven pricing intelligence to support food and beverage processors and manufacturers. So we have built an AI-driven price analytics platform where we import millions upon millions of unstructured price data points from online retailers and other sources. We have expanded. When we first started out, our parsing technology was not exceptionally well developed, but we had all the pieces in place, and then we started automating about 4 years ago our parsing technology. And so what this means is that we are able to capture considerable amount of data week on, and our fight is always to acquire data. This is what keeps a lot of people up at night on my team, and we're using this data for good. What we do is we use natural language processing, or NLP, as well as computer vision work, so image recognition, and we harness both of these sets of optionality here to produce our machine learning and AI-based price intelligence models. So I'll show you a little bit of that through some shots of our platform. But ultimately what we do is we're providing real-time, error-free, competitive price intelligence that does not rely on physical data capture. So no more going to the stores, no more shopping at your competitor outlets and trying to size this up and keep receipts in your office and put them to good use somehow. So let's take a little bit of a deeper dive here. So right now we have pan-Canadian coverage. We have 6.5 billion product records in our data store. So we are, our data lake has become massive. And what we do is we import 59 million new price records a week. We're up in over 4,000 stores right now, 45 retail chains. So these are distinct chains that we would be collecting data from or acquiring data. And we now have representation in the US. So we are expanding. We're in Oregon, and we're looking to expand soon to California and Nevada. Obviously, we want to build a stronghold in the Canadian market here and really, provide a service that would give affordable technology that is AI-based to groups that have never had access to this type of technology before. They may not have the skills to develop something in-house, but they know that if they don't get on something like this behind the scenes, or gain access to something like this, that they will be left behind. And our goal here is to see our food supply chain strengthened, because with more players in the food supply chain, costs will decrease. So again, we're capturing data points. We are cleaning and labeling. We're now tagging and working on classification of individualized products so that we can enhance the surfacing of the data and product matches. which means that we do two forms of product matching. We do exact product matching based on a series of different attributes, product attributes. And then we use, that could be anywhere from the product name to other attributes and some metadata there. Brand, size, and so on. And then we also develop algorithms that will assist us in suggesting similar product matches. So this process is not for the faint of heart. Anytime you're looking at doing this work, it can take over 1.5 years, almost 2 years to product label. And you need that level of manual intervention initially to get training sets of data. Okay, so this is an undertaking, most definitely, and we've been working as well as we can, as fast as we can, to get as much training data involved. And then we also work collaboratively with Saskatchewan Polytechnic. We have a 3-year partnership that we're building with them, which is very exciting. And we work with groups at the University of Saskatchewan, always interested in hearing from people that want to gain experience working with a huge database. And we always want to hear from students. We want to hear from people that want to level up any skills or anything like that to come and touch this data, to work with it. We also work with the Schulich School of Business at York University, and we bring on 5 Masters of Business Analytics students that work on problems that we have at BetterCart, and where they're working right now are predictive analytics. So that's very exciting for us, because ultimately what we're going to do here is these are some screenshots of our platform. So we would have, single product lookups, and this would be by banners that you may be familiar with, but we can do this in any city across the country. We can also do this at the store level, because if you are a smaller retailer, for instance, or you're a smaller manufacturing company, you're not across the country right now. You may be in smaller jurisdictions. And so we know that we need that baseline for you, and you can figure out what's going on in your neighborhood. The beauty is, so at the same time, you can also see pricing strategies for your own product, competitor products, retailers, and so on, in real time across the country, up to the national level here. We've also, which is really great and powerful, is built a long history now. So we have a 4-year history for most products in our database, which is really exceptional, because now we're in a position where we can start using that data to start predicting the future. And we'll use our machine learning to do that. So what we want to be able to do there is to tell companies that this time next year, how much is that Christmas turkey going to be worth? Okay. Or how much are, any supplies for seasonality, anything that might be cause for celebration, any regular goods, and are there trends in the marketplace that we could then see happening 6 months, 8 months, 10 months to 12 months down the road. So we're looking forward to doing that very soon and taking that to market. And then we're working on, obviously, our similar product matching, which is another layer, but it strengthens our platform. So we're giving this data in real time. It's elegantly presented here, and we can also support companies in terms of data feeds if they'd like. Okay, so BetterCart Analytics, I'll just be wrapping up very quickly here. BetterCart Analytics is the price intelligence company that also has a fully developed AI-driven consumer platform, as mentioned, that mimics and extends the B2B side. So what we can do there is work directly with companies who want to learn more about consumers and consumer preferences. So when you're looking at a sale, for instance, what attracts you to that sale? Could we work on some some studies, some experiments that we could create insights around the analytics using consumer preference data and support understanding around their explicit intentions to buy. So what they might explicitly mention, yes, I would buy this dish detergent or dish soap. Their attitudes toward it, their behaviors, did they actually go and buy that dish soap? Their implicit assessments, though, we can also see what they're doing implicitly. If we use implicit techniques to generate another data source. So this could be facial EMG, whether people are looking at a product, that dish soap, for instance, and are they furrowing their brow, or are they giving us imperceptible muscle movements that connote a smile? So we could do that. And we uncover biases that way, judgments, and ultimately sentiment. So what are consumers saying online about companies' products? And we look forward to that frontier of research and the data acquisition and the data analyses and seeing what we can do with that. So consumers and neuromarketing, very, very interesting. And this would be, back in the day, this is what's under BetterCart Analytics hood here. It is all the products in grocery store catalogs, full catalogs here, non-flyers, not just flyers, friends. And, we use our machine learning here to compare products as well. Okay, so at BetterCart Analytics, we're also starting work on the BetterCart book, if you will. We want to use AI to support supply chain insights and procurement insights and create a diverse food supply chain there by understanding who are our local suppliers and vendors and start populating information, because we do want to support local providers of food and not have, to increase that 70% of the food that is grown and built and made here and gets in the hands of Canadian consumers. So this work will solve longstanding industry-wide problems and create better data posture and data transparency. So, again, I'm Melanie Morrison. I founded this company about 5 years ago. So we've been working hard at, getting the web app going way back in the day. It seems like forever, but 4 years ago, and then we switched to B2B about 2 years ago. The data sources are all the same though, so we were able to make that transition. This is Stephen Parcel, my CTO, and he's out in Northern Saskatchewan in Victoria, BC, and we've been affiliated with great accelerators and incubators, so certainly co-launch and collabs here. In the tech sector, we obviously receive support from Cultivator in Regina. Those are great places to go. Feed, which is, female entrepreneurs in agri-food development. Venture Lab in Toronto. Amy is the, machine learning and intelligence, AI zone in Edmonton. And so they're phenomenal and there's world renowned. Scale AI is the AI supercluster, if you will, in Canada. And so we work with them and have received support, as well as through Amy and Venture Lab, and then Women in Cloud, so into the United States, and looking at opportunity there, and then Plug and Play as well. So that's another incubator or accelerator that tech companies can go into. These, these wonderful advisors, where are the women? I get that entirely. These are the people that I've been fortunate enough to work with. I've worked with many, many people, but these people are part of my heart. I love chatting with these people, and they are spread out across the country, but they're very, very supportive and believe in what we're doing at BetterCart Analytics. And I really have great fondness for them all. Our goal ultimately is to hit the Sustainable Development Goals. And when we look at things like zero hunger, we think that we can support a diverse supply chain and support greater food production, less waste, and get it into the hands of the people that need that, every single Canadian. You know, we want to work on other developmental goals here. And we, you know, look forward to doing that. We've received funding again from an social impact fund, and we have our targets, and you know, we're going to work hard to do that. And we love to be partnering with groups like Data for Good. So looking forward to doing, you know, as a person with a long history in working with not-for-profit and different organizations and communities through an applied social psychology lens. Now that blend of technology too, and I think we can do a lot here. So I want to thank you everyone for joining me today, and reach out to me if you'd like at all about BetterCart Analytics. Always happy to have conversations, and I'll turn it back to you. Thank
Yeah,
you so much.
appreciate that, Melanie. That was a really informative and exciting talk. We really appreciate learning a lot more about the world of that price intelligence. You know, I think I like that you threw in some of the, you know, the data flow in there as well for our more technical membership. So we really
Right.
appreciate that.
Oh yeah, you bet.
I'm just gonna also just open it up to see if there's any questions that anybody
Absolutely.
has. I just got a message, a couple of PMs of a couple here, but we'll just see if there's a couple here that roll in. So Javad is asking a question. So how do you deal with the different pricing for online and in stores of a product like Costco, which it could affect on the reliability of data and also could have an impact on the outcome?
Yeah, so we do collect some data from Costco, and we look to having conversations with them down the road. Our investigation and our research on our end has shown, so the data that we're collecting online and that which we see in brick and mortar, so you know, the grocery stores, there's about a 97% overlap. So this is a really good indicator for us. So when we go on to when we look at the price points that we have on our platform, for instance, and if we were to check them in store, there's considerable overlap there. And the reason being is there's a strong movement there. Why? Because if a consumer goes online to check a single price and then happens to go in that store and finds that it's less, or, you know, less, for instance, that, you know, or more, they're going to be deeply upset. So we've seen some companies like Instacart get into a bit of trouble for changing the pricing, you know, from what people are seeing in store, and then they may be going online and just noticing that massive discrepancy. So that helps us in terms of what we're trying to do in providing that market and competitive landscape data.
Right on. Does that help, Javad? Okay, just another question that I had here. Like, sort of, what was the big inspiration or light bulb moment that caused you to think to create software like this?
Well, we knew that so we were building that behind the scenes with our web app. And so when we took on a B2B side about 2 years ago, we knew we had all that data. And then, you know, and I guess even from the consumer side, we knew that we had to provide that as a platform. We knew that we had to have people coming onto it and being able to access data. We wanted to be more of the analytics side as well. We want to be that. So with the powerful data that we have, we want to be mining that continuously and adding that value. And I think our platform we're only selling about 2.5 features there right now. So even though that menu is very long, we are selling 2 to 3 features there right now. We're in the market. So we know we have all of this potential, but that's our house, that's our engine. And that's what we knew we had to develop that in order to have those conversations with people. People need to see the visual. And they need to be working in it. And our goal is to make it as sticky as possible, to make people as happy and thrilled to get on there as possible for them to drive their strategies with data.
Right on. I'll just go for one more here. Oh, here we go. We have one here. Did somebody come off chat? Okay, so there's one here that just says, my question is regarding some of the practices you had to use to ensure data privacy and consent of retailers and end users.
Right.
And then they're
Okay.
also interested in the volume of data. So we probably have time for those two, hey?
Sure, yeah,
Cool.
anything, absolutely. Yes, so we are collecting data that's in the public domain. So we are not, when I classify us as having the largest, independent database, what that means is that we're not hired specifically by any company or companies. We're not hired, in the manufacturing zone, so no product-based or brands, and we're not hired specifically by retailers. So we are operating as independently as possible, and therefore being able to supply transparent pricing data to as many people as we can. And we're working in the public domain. We are in compliance with the terms and agreements that are there in relation to retailers, and we know that can be a bit more of a grayer area, but it's quite common in this industry to be doing this.
Okay. Ross, did I see you come off? Did you have a question before we wrap up here?
Oh, I do have one question. So Melanie, you have so much data in storage. I'm just wondering what are you using for your tech stack?
Yeah, so our group is, they've used a variety of libraries. So they've got, we collect things through HTML, APIs. We, are working on all of our machine learning. So there's a variety of different techniques that optionality there that they would be using, that our dev team would be using, and there's so many of them, let me tell you, but I can certainly forward that to the group if they want to know a little bit more of a drilled down general approach that we take. But we're always looking for, like we work with Amy, right? And so we are actually in their Level Up CTO program right now. And so our CTO and one or two individuals is working really closely with the experts there. And so we get, sort of the best advice we could possibly get. And then we also, and mentorship there. And then we also work, with Sask Polytech. So there's people that, have their PhDs in data science, machine learning, and it's a great collaboration. So it's moving very, very quickly, which is great. But I'm happy to forward that to anybody that might want to know a bit more. I can also put you in touch with our CTO, and then totally happy to, I wish you were here today because he'd rattle that off. And then if anybody wants to contact me afterward, by all means, go for it, and we can set you up with that to learn more about the actual tech stack info.
Perfect.
Really appreciate it. Thank you
Right,
so
you
much,
bet.
Melanie. I'm just going to plug a couple of things before we wrap up here, just
Yeah,
in the
sure.
last minute here.
Okay.
We do have a upcoming meetup on December the 5th, Thursday, December the 5th. So we are going to be talking with Nick Desbarret. I believe he has a really awesome talk about building dashboards. Ross, I know you attended one of his talks. Do you want to say?
Yeah, he's fantastic. So Nick's an independent educator and best-selling author. He's spoken in all over the world at big companies, small companies. I saw him at the Big Data Analytics Summit in Toronto in the summer. He's gonna come and speak to us about how to build a dashboard, and he's really fantastic. You're all gonna get a lot out of that. You don't want to miss that one for sure. So we'll see you all back here in a couple weeks.
Awesome. And the last but not least, I know there's a lot of folks who are interested in getting involved with a lot of our projects. We actually have 2 new projects coming down the pipeline. So I put a QR code up here. Melanie, I know you want to volunteer. You're going to crush some data, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
But for the members, for Saskatoon Trades and Skills, we're looking for a junior data mentee, senior data analyst, as well as a project lead. So if you're interested, scan the QR code. You can select which one you're interested in. But we've also got a project for the Saskatoon Food Bank and Learning Center. We have some of the senior folks and the project leads, courtesy of Ross, but we are looking for a mentee on that project. So yeah, if you're interested, you're actually getting this before we send the big blast out. So this is, your incentive here. This is the motivation to come out to these things, because you get to hear this stuff first before it goes out to the rest of the members. So encourage you, if you're interested, scan this. We'll get you on the list, and you get it here first. So Once again, Melanie, just want to say thank you. We appreciate you coming out today to Forget Saskatchewan.
Oh yeah, my pleasure. So nice to be here. Thanks for the invitation.
All right. Take care,
So much,
everybody.
Melanie.
Make sure you catch that QR code if you're interested. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.